Hello there, friends and RC family. My name is Alec from High Noon Hobbies, and if you're new to this channel, I very much appreciate you checking it out. I don't know how you got here, but I'm glad you're here now. I hope that you will stick around, watch at least this video, see if this content seems worth your while, and consider subscribing so that then I can say to you, if you aren't new here, welcome back to yet another Friday upload. As you can tell, we are out here with Big Mike of Sons of Crawl and T of SL.UT Crawlers, and we are in a new location for the channel, but not a new location for me, actually. This is where RCing all started for me. Well, I mean, the RCing started with the purchasing of the RC truck, which I suppose you could say happened at the hobby shop, but this was the first real trail that I brought my RC truck out to. And this one doesn't go as well for me as that first one did. This is a trail up in Little Cottonwood Canyon. As you can tell, I've got the High Noon Capra, the Golden Capra, out here, and we're having some issues, if you couldn't tell. It only took about 10 minutes or so of running before I realized that my motor was going out. And well, I had another problem too, which was when I installed that green PLA Plus flat skid in the Capra. Well, I neglected to really pay attention to my battery connections, and because of that, and here, just a quick side note, we have to add to the collection of pictures of me taking pictures of T taking pictures of me. It's always a good time. But yeah, I neglected to pay close attention to my battery connections on the Golden Capra. And, well, that ended up with the battery reversed. And so, of course, being a lazy man and having crimped the connections, not having crimps on me, couldn't switch the connections back. So I just reversed it in my controller, which is fine. I mean, had a little bit more power going to the reverse channel than I did going to the forward channel, because essentially the Hobbywing 1080 that I had in the Capra was still registering my forward as reverse and my reverse as forward in terms of the amount of thrust it should be giving it. And if you've ever played around with Hobbywing 1080s, you know that you get a lot more chutzpah in forward than you do in reverse as a default setting. So that was a bit of a problem until we got to this trail. It became a major problem because my motor started going out. I'm probably almost certain it had something to do with the way that I was running it, but also because it's just a totally box stock Capra motor hooked up to a Hobbywing 1080 that has gotten probably 100 trail miles on it. Maybe not that much, but quite a few trail miles on it. I'm surprised it lasted this long, to be honest with you. But yeah, when that started going out, it made the whole reverse thing a bit of a major problem. And well, we ended up just doing this run in reverse. So to give you a little idea of my forward power, here is that is totally full throttle right there. You can see it kind of giving a little bit of like a like it wants to go forward, but it doesn't. It's almost like the truck was browning out every time that I tried to give it more throttle in a situation where I was asking for too much torque that the motor just couldn't give. So we haven't replaced the motor yet, but we've got a replacement motor sitting on the disc right now. And hey, maybe that'll even be a little live stream video. What do you guys think? Sunday put a motor in the Capra. Got a few other video ideas that are kind of simmering right now, and some pretty exciting ones, some collabs with West Desert Wheeler, and a few other things in the works that I think should be pretty entertaining. But maybe we got to put the fresh motor in the Capra this Sunday. So if you guys want to tune into a live stream where we break down the Capra yet again, geez, maybe I'm doing too many Capra live streams? I don't know. Leave it in the comment section down below what you think. This trail is, even if I do have to run it in a Capra in reverse, one of my favorite trails in this area that we have. It's a beautiful, beautiful wooded trail next to the creek, as you guys could tell there. And, well, this is in Little Cottonwood Canyon. If you're familiar with it, you know. Otherwise, it's a secret. It's really not that much of a secret. This is just a creekside trail, or the Little Cottonwood Creek Trail. And this is one of our favorite lines through this section. And we're going to have T running through here first. You can see in his comp mog back in action. He actually, pretty sure he threw a fresh axle on this truck right before. And when I say right, I mean like minutes. Like he ran late to this trail run because he was throwing on a new axle. But hey, it's on, it's working, and we got the comp mog back in action. Always a good time. And God, this thing just eats lines. It's got just the right amount of ride height and wheel height for this Little Cottonwood Canyon stuff, which, as you can tell, is a good mix of rock and loose dirt. You gotta have great traction on the tires, but you also gotta have a good traction pattern for managing with the loose stuff, and you have to have the clearance height, kind of the center skid clearance height. Very nicely done, T. To get yourself up and over so many of these hang-ups. And this is actually going to be an interesting comparison here, where we have got Mike's mog, which is very well set up. As you can tell, it's got the comp cut frame. We've got an actual flat rail frame here. We've got some great parts and pieces, but one thing that you'll notice where it struggles more than T's rig does on this particular trail, or this material, is in the breakover of that skid and that center skid clearance, and trying to get over some of the hang-ups. This particular spot right here is one of the most well-known spots in this line for getting you hung up, and as we can see, his frame and his skid is just sticking on that rock to the left-hand side. And then as this section of the line is infamous for, once you back up off of that section, it just starts catching you in every which way possible. So Mike has to kind of work his way back up to that spot, but he's got to be careful this time to try to get further over to either the right or the left to keep that skid from high centering once again. Makes it up that line clean there, and the rest is going to be more or less a piece of cake for him, with a few more little hang-ups on that center skid, which all, again, is just due to that ever so slightly lesser clearance. You can also see, and I'm just noticing this now, I'm wondering if this is playing any impact. It looks like Mike's rear axle is moving around just maybe a little bit more, or rather being compressed just a little bit more to maximum compression. Wondering if that has anything to do with the difficulty on that line at all. But now we get to see our comparison of a Capra going backwards versus two Mogs. Can the Capra do it as well as the Mogs can? And spoiler alert, the answer is no. At least if you're just using your front wheel steering while you're going in reverse. I learned a pretty big lesson about why we don't have rear steer only trucks frequently. Why you don't frequently see rear steer only trucks in off-roading competitions. It's because this shit's hard. It does not make things particularly easy. Pushing the rear end around everywhere is just not very ideal, as we can see here. Also, the Capra's geometry and weight distribution makes this particularly difficult. I've got a 3600 milliamp hour Gens Ace, those high voltage batteries that I was talking about in our little shopping spree last week. That was fun, by the way. And as you can see, products that I was recommending in action here. Well, you can't see, but you got to take my word for it here. And yeah, just not working well, because all that front weight is not helping the whole rear steer, or I'm sorry, I guess rear weight. All that rear weight in this situation is not helping the whole rear steering situation. It just becomes a massive, massive pushy mess. So we're going to switch to trying to do the, I guess what you would now call front steering. Rear steering in reverse becomes front steering, because I think it's about the only way I'm going to make it up this second part of the line. And it does become a bit easier once we try to go to front steering there, but it's still not weighted quite right to do these vertical ascents with all of that weight in the back. So we're not in an ideal situation, but we're still going to try to make the best of it. As you can see, that spot where I flipped over, that's kind of the infamous spot where Mike had his troubles in hanging up. Now, I'm trying to do whatever I can to get this Capra past this first little kind of keeper line of rocks on the left-hand side, and it just wants to keep sliding into them. And then when I push to the right-hand side, it's struggling just as much with the kind of that rock on the far right-hand side. It just doesn't have the weight distribution in this orientation to make pushy moves into obstacles. So we're definitely noticing that. But nonetheless, hey, check it out. Look what we did here. Capra kinda, sorta, almost made it to the end of the line in reverse, and then I got in this situation, and I just decided it was time to try to finish this off forward. I had to basically pin it in every circumstance that I possibly could because I had almost no power to the front. As you can see there, I was actually, even when it was locking up there, you can kind of tell that it pulsates for a second like it did earlier in that line I showed you. I was giving it the beans, and it was not producing the beans. But this line's also fairly fun. That was kind of the summary there, is that Capra in reverse is not very good for extended periods of time. And it will not compete against a well set up anything, yet alone a Mog, which does pretty well on this terrain. So I've got this next line here to just show that as well. This is a tough little kind of double bounce. There's really no way over this without getting hung up on your skid. So wheel speed is your friend here. And we're going to take a shot at it. Totally didn't already dig some holes before I started the video. Don't know what you're talking about. But hey, look at that. Again, using our rear wheel steers to steer in the front, we managed to almost kind of make it look as ridiculously difficult as it possibly could be. But we do make it. Not bad. Again, you can kind of see a demonstration of why I like this trail so much. Just a nice, huge. It's essentially like if you had a creek bed near your house, multiply that creek bed by like a few square miles, and that's what we've got here. It's an endless playground of funness to play around on, and this is another one of our more well-known lines in this section of the trail. We actually did a comp here recently, and it was a pretty good time. I unfortunately didn't get any footage of the comp. It kind of spanned later into the evening, and we lost light, and I was kind of just dealing with fixing rigs more than anything, so I wasn't focusing too much on the filming. But we'll definitely have another one up here in the Little Cottonwood area relatively soon, and I'll make sure to get a video uploaded to the channel on one of those. Just gotta love the look of this comp Mog. I don't know what it is. I don't know. It's like a combination of the wheels, the stuffed tires, really making that volume up in the tires. Something about the way the T stuffs his tires is, I don't know. I've just always really liked the look of it. Super, super wide tread. And then I don't know. It's the color, everything about it. It's a well done T. I'm happy to see the comp Mog back on the channel. And now, of course, it's the donkey's turn to try to make it through this nonsense. There are several kind of entries to this. I took one of the easier entries into this section. And then again, there's kind of two routes here where you can either hit it to the left or the right. I decided to hit it to the right if I can, because I prefer that line. I think it looks a little bit better and it's a little more fun. It is a little bit more difficult to the right, but we're going to give it a shot. We've still got, a little bit of power left in this motor, but we just keep getting all sorts of screwy, and it doesn't help to try to do all of this at the same time and dealing with the reverse nature of things. I ended up actually reversing my throttle back in my controller. I mentioned at the start of the video that when I was feeling lazy, and after I put the flat skid in, I realized that the motor connections were reversed, and instead of fixing those because they were crimped and I'm lazy, I just reversed it in my controller and dealt with the repercussions of that. I actually ended up reversing. Whee! That was one of my favorite transitions of this entire movie, so thank you for coming. You can leave now. But no, yeah, so basically I just reversed it back in my controller at this point so that I stopped getting so confused about at least one thing, because I was still dealing with a completely different control system when it came to steering than I was used to, but at least I could let myself still have forward equal forward and backward equal backward. So I was running reverse throttle controls basically this entire trail run, like from maybe the halfway point or a little earlier than the halfway point. I just realized that I was going to totally lose my mind if I didn't do that, and yeah, very worth it, but still having some difficulties controlling the Capra. Another very famous line in this section. This line here is it's just aesthetically appealing. There's not really a whole lot to it, although it is it's fun in a weird way. It's got like a nasty semi-side hill coming into it, but it just sets you up really poorly for this left-hand turn that you got to make here. And for some reason, it doesn't really matter the truck. It just seems like this line goes. And so I think I've done it with every single one of my trucks, and I've pretty much seen every truck I've ever seen hit it, go up it. But it is still technical and fun. It's really fun to drive. And there's something about driving on tree stumps, too, that's just super unique. Obviously, you can't do that necessarily in the full-scale world, but here in the 1/10 scale world, we get to have some additional fun on these weird obstacles that are, I don't know, just they're like a different type of obstacle that you don't get to see in the full scale, and I think it's pretty fun. So we're hitting it in the Capra. I cheated and used a little bit of all-wheel steer or four-wheel steer here, so I'm using the rears to try to help me out, mostly because of the weird weighting situation I've got trying to hit this in reverse. I figured the rear-wheel steer was kind of the only way around just pushing my back end totally into the tree on the right-hand side. And it worked out, but sorry, I did cheat a little bit there, and this wasn't a full reverse Capra run. But we'll get to enjoy a little bit of sunsetting creekside views here towards the end of the trail, and this is the time where I find out the true tragedy of the entire day, which I'll leave you guys with. But I hope you guys enjoy your weekend. I'll see you on Sunday for a little Capra building, and thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video.
Hello, my name is Broken Axle Boy. Rah!
Yeah, she broke.
At least it's just a housing. Housing?